everybody talk at once.
All right, everyone. So, as you saw on the title, we're doing a top 10 card review of the Aetherdrift set from Magic. I got Seragyn and Spoon joining me.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
So, we're going to kick it off. I'm going to show you my list first. So, on my list, we got my number one. Now, everyone, please understand, we picked these cards before the set was actually available. We went and looked and combed through all of the lists of all the cards, tried to figure out what we thought was going to be some of our best cards or whatever. So, you might hear that some of these cards aren't as good as we thought they were. So, my first one I went with was Radiant Lotus because, hey, mana. You love it. And I thought it was going to be pretty damn good. So that's literally why it's my number one. I have not crafted it yet, so my number two.
So you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Okay.
Pretty much on that one, yes. I just going by what I saw. I saw, hey, that looked pretty solid. My number two, Loot the Pathfinder. He looks damn fun. I am excited to try him in a commander deck mainly.
Can we talk about Radiant Lotus real quick?
Sure, I will click backwards. There we go. There's Radiant Lotus. You could shit blast that card all you want if you want.
Well, to be fair, once again, this is one of those cards that I didn't fucking read. I've been using it wrongly.
Oh.
But I've been playing it under the assumption you could only pick one artifact. And so it was only a 3 mana boost. And that is wrong.
Now, I'm assuming if you've been playing with it, it also includes artifact creatures, correct?
It does, yes.
So you could have some, and I don't know if there's any like ones worth sacrifice. Then you could play some of them dudes, sack them, and get a huge jump in your mana.
Well, it also includes the tokens. So like
that's what I'm saying, like tokens or
little 1/1 artifact creature tokens. Especially the toys that are really easy to make, and you can really, and the Thopters, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So you can actually, I guess, cast a really fucking big Marketback Walker with this.
There's also a really bad slow combo with I think it's called Boom Bike. It's a 4-cost fire artifact vehicle, and like when you play it, it has an exhaust ability. It costs 3. You tap it, and then it costs 3 and X, and then you can deal X damage to something, and so like you can do a like 1-turn kill with it, like just by sacking like 8 artifacts. With Radiant Lotus. Yeah, it's sweet. I think it was Saffron Olive do it online, and like that looks sweet, but it's slow. Like me and Seragyn were talking about how like all of the stuff is like slow, like like slow mid-range, like mid-range control slow.
Yeah,
slow burn, but once you get there, you're pretty much going to kill your opponent.
But ignore what I said earlier before we recorded, because now I actually read it.
So now you're on board again.
I think it has more potential than I thought it did, but again, it's going to be a late game slow thing.
Yeah.
But if you can make a lot of tokens, food tokens, I mean,
that's true.
So you play this in Commander and make a shit ton of food tokens, or make everything a food token, sacrifice them all, and have 1 billion mana.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be slow, obviously, because it's a 6 cost, right? It's a 6 cost artifact, so. But probably put it in a green deck, maybe ramp up, jam this down, and like you said, just sack shit, just keep jamming bigger and bigger stuff. So.
Or red's good for making treasure tokens, so you can make a ton of treasure tokens, play this, and then have a ton of mana for a burnout.
Yeah, so like I said, I thought this was gonna be a really sweet one. So, and now that you guys are talking about it, I think it sounds even sweeter. So my number 2.
I do think it's one you kind of have to build around a combo using it for it to be worthwhile.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a thing you just jam in a deck just to jam it in there. You need setup, like you said. You need to work build with it.
Mm-hmm. But if you're making a lot of artifact tokens anyway, it could be very useful.
Yeah, but if you're playing an enchantment deck, this probably isn't for you. But artifacts, you probably want this in there somewhere.
And given that this set is focused around artifacts.
That's true. I believe all the vehicles are artifacts, are they not?
Yes.
So, my number 2, again, Loot the Pathfinder. I think this little guy is going to be super fun in Commander, for sure. I found out Friday that apparently when you play the card, I think it's blue, has a lot of exile your target creature and then, replay it. That refreshes his exhaust ability. So there you could constantly keep dealing 3 damage, drawing cards, adding extra mana, just hopefully getting crazy with the little bugger here. And he also has
I think what makes
haste.
him... Go ahead. Sorry.
As I say, he also has double strike and haste, so that's, maybe play some buff cards on him and try to win that way too, right?
I think also the thing that makes Loot playable over most of the other exhaust cards is the exhaust costs are really cheap.
Oh yeah, I'll pay 1, draw 3 cards. Yeah,
right.
What the hell?
One island. Whereas all the other exhausts are really quite expensive.
Yeah,
for what
and it's not just. And also, not the costs are cheap, and he has haste, so you can do this immediately when you play him. Also.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So if you don't want to just swing with them, like you said, I can immediately deal 3 damage to something, or you know what? I'm low on cards. I need 3 cards.
Well, he has vigilance, so you can actually swing with him and still do your ability.
Really?
Absolutely.
So is the exhaust? So you could play the exhausts on your opponent's turn, or no? Do we know?
You can do it on your turn or your opponent's turn.
Oh, okay.
Right. It's not.
Like I said,
You can also. I think you can also do it because it's not a sorcery ability, so you can do it in the middle of the attack. So if you're attacking to something and he's gonna die, you can. If you have the mana, you can still
pop the mana or draw cards or hit it for 3 and maybe trade, right?
Yep.
Trade or even keep your loot alive.
Yeah, that's true. If he's going into a 3/3, all right, well, I'll just kill it and let him fight another day. But no, I think he's going to be really fun. I'm waiting to see how crazy people get him. So that's definitely my number 2. Just like I said, just looking at the cards coming from the set.
There's also this weird card. I can't remember what it is. It's an enchantment, and you can take a card from you can put a card from your graveyard into exile, and all the other creatures get the abilities that it has. And so you do that with loot, and then all of your creatures get to have a bolt on them, or pay 1, draw 3 cards. And so, yeah.
Agatha Soul Cauldron.
Yeah.
That's the card. Yeah.
It's
Soul
a
Cauldron.
2-cost relic.
Yeah, we're going to make a note of that one right now, folks. Because that sounds splendid, actually. Soul Cauldron. Yeah, we're going to look at that. Right in the middle of the video, we're taking notes even like. That's another way you could build this.
So yeah,
I love it.
Also with you can use any mana to activate any of the achievements or any of the abilities. So you don't even have to hold up all the different colors.
I didn't know that part. That's broken as fuck.
And it's like you can do it immediately. It's a free just tap ability of Agatha Soul Cauldron.
Beautiful. All right, so my number 3.
And it also puts a +1/+1 counter on another creature when you do it.
Even a little extra bonus.
Yeah, because why the fuck not?
Exactly. So my number 3.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be building that.
Number 3 for me is Aetherspark. This looked kind of cool. I've not tried it yet, but I know maybe someone else in the video might have it on their list, and they're probably going to talk at length about their experiences with it. But I haven't.
In every deck I have.
Yeah, it's this one. I was also listening.
Every one of them.
Yeah, I was listening to the hype as well with this one, so I'm like, Seems like it could be good. It's in. I haven't crafted it yet, but this is mainly due to hype. My number 4 is, I'm going to butcher this poor woman's name, Oviya, the Automech Artisan. I love cheating out huge units, or just ridiculously costed units, and I feel like her tap ability is bonkers. Like, it's literally bonkers.
And what's funny about this is, having played with it, both as a commander and just in my decks, the vehicle part is kind of irrelevant. So it gives 2+1/+1 counters if you use the ability to summon a vehicle. But vehicles suck, so just putting out really big, expensive stuff is almost always way better.
Big, beefy green units. I mean, or like I said, you put it maybe a green. I'm trying to think someone else that had like green, red maybe cheat out some big dragons or something. You know, like for just one green and exhaust her. That seems insane. So if your opponent doesn't deal with her, they're in for a world of hurt. So I'm excited to work with her as well.
Mm-hmm.
My number 5. I'm up to 5 now. I can count. Debris Beetle. I did pick a vehicle. I know, shocking. I just thought this one was really interesting. Lose 3 life, gain 3 life. A trample 6/6, crew of 2. So and the colors, since it's black green. I was thinking, put this in like a sapperling or like a zombie token or something. Like you could. I mean, it's only a crew of 2, so you throw a couple of those 1/1 like sapperlings in this. Now you got a 6/6 trample going. So
I think the saving grace for this vehicle, again, after we go through cards, we can talk about vehicles and all that shit, is the low crew cost.
Yeah.
And the low casting cost.
Yeah, that's why I went
turn
with it.
4, you're putting out a 6/6, and you only have to crew it with a little like mana dork or something.
Pretty much.
And the drain ability helps it be playable, so it does something when it comes into play too.
And it has trample, which is nice. So they can't just. I mean, they can chump it, but maybe we still get a hit in. You know what I mean? And like I said,
right, exactly. And because it costs so little,
mm-hmm.
You actually have a good chance of getting through at least once or twice.
Yeah, and like I said, I liked it for the crew cost. I liked it for its mana cost. I like Spoon said, that it does something when you play. So even if you don't crew it right away, you hit them for 3, you gain 3. So I thought this was pretty decent.
My problem with vehicles in general is that like you'll play them like if you like a 3-cost vehicle, 4-cost vehicle, you'll play it. It's just a mana rock. It's a mana rock that doesn't even give you mana. Like you play it and it's nothing. Like so like you could just lose a game because you decided you were on to play a vehicle on turn 4.
Yeah, and you never crew it, and it just sits there.
If you have an empty board and you need a blocker, a vehicle does nothing for you.
Nope. So, all right, that's my. I believe that's my lone vehicle on my list. Spoiler. So that's what, 5. Number 6 coming up. So we're down at the bottom half of my list. I got Brightglass Gearhulk. First strike a trample. When each creature enters, may you search your library for the 2 artifact creature or enchantment cards with mana value 1 or less. Reveal them and put them into your hand. I mean, his cost, he's only 2 green, 2 white. He's a 4/4, first strike and trample, but his ability, like we were talking before, if you're playing like an artifact deck and you have some artifact creatures, he'll help you fetch them, basically. You could use him to basically tutor out other stuff.
Yeah, and go ahead.
This is great for toolboxy decks. So like if you need stuff like there's a bunch of 1-cost artifact stuff that like will deal with other artifacts or enchantments or creature, all this stuff. So like you can just throw a bunch of 1-up stuff. Haywire Might, yeah. You can just throw a bunch of those 1-cost stuff in your deck, and you have 4 of these guys, and so like in any of these matchups, you can just go and grab it right out of your deck. So I think it's sweet.
Yeah, I love the toolbox
probably
stuff.
The only card of this set that I am using very often in my standard decks, and actually have a standard deck I've built around it.
Nice.
Because it does do some good stuff. So you can pull out, like mine has a bunch of mana dorks, and it uses March of the World Ooze to get things big, but also Lava Spur Boot, so you're giving it haste +1 and ward 1, or Basilisk's Collar is really good on it because it gives it not only first strike that it already has, but it gives it deadly.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's cool. Yeah.
And with the deadly and overwhelm, there's no matter how big they block with it, you can kill it.
Yeah. So I thought this was, like I said, I love the toolbox, like Spoon would say. I love the toolbox idea of decks, so I think he's perfect for that. And his body's not terrible. Like, you know, his stats aren't terrible.
And he's fast enough that the standard deck I have anyway can actually keep pace with some of the like aggro red.
Wow.
It's not a given, but with a decent draw, you really do have a chance to actually win those matchups that would otherwise, for any kind of mid-range deck, just be like, might as well just auto concede.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. Like I said, because you get that toolboxy stuff, so like you can have stuff in there to help you come back and deal with that stuff. You can have one life gain thing that you can grab so that you can deal with aggro.
Yeah.
And in standard anyway, these colors have some of the best removal and sheltered by ghosts.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that stuff is in there too. Yeah.
So it exiles, gives it ward, and gives it lifesteal. Or lifelink, I guess it's in Magic.
Yeah, so I mean, for being a number 6, I could see him climbing my list, honestly. But for, like I said, just my initial, I put him here at 6. But I could definitely see this one climbing.
And the bonus here, just to remember, is this is one of the few cards that actually fucking does something that isn't legendary in this set.
That's true. He is not a legendary. I don't think any of the Gearhulks legendary.
No, they're not. So that's what makes them really good, is they all have interesting effects. Well, except for one.
Yeah. We won't talk about it.
But yeah. But they all have interesting effects. They're not legendary, so you can do a lot of crazy copy strategies with them.
So that's my number 6, Brightglass Gearhulk. My number 7, Ketramose, the New Dawn. It's a legendary creature. It's a god. It's only 3 cost. It's one of any, a white and a black. Menace, lifelink, indestructible, all kinds of good stuff there. Can't attack or block, though, unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, I draw a card and I lose a life. So, with it being in white, I mean, that's their thing. They exile shit all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is just really good. And
this card is great.
And I'm wondering how, I feel like it obviously could probably do some stuff with loot as well. Possibly, right? Excelling loot, doing like some kind of weird shenanigans. I don't know.
And it does work. You still draw. So I have a deck I run in Commander. It does really well. It's not particularly fun to play because it is just a giant removal pile.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of exile bounce backs you can do that give you pretty continuous card draw.
And with white, again, you can also put some stuff in that gains you life, so it kind of negates the negative of, okay, you lose a life, you draw a card, but you know, you have other ways, in white especially, that you can gain life. So.
And it goes really well with an enchantment-based strategy, so stuff like Protection Sphere, which I know you hate with a passion.
Oh, I love it now. You talked me into it. We put it into some of those 5-color decks I have.
In Commander, the other one that makes a 4/4 Angel every time you cast an enchantment. I've been doing a lot of this with the different monuments and medallions just to make things even cheaper to cast. There's also board wipes that exile everything and stuff like that. Lots of ways to exile the graveyard of your opponent so you can mill them down, exile everything, and suddenly she's online.
Yeah, like this one, for her cost, her abilities, I think it's pretty solid.
But again, it is a slow, mid-rangey.
Yeah. You have to build up. Obviously, you have to have exile a lot of stuff for her to be able to block or attack. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact
she
that it's
doesn't actually kill the other guy.
no.
Like, you don't. She wins games through card draw, and the life gain and stuff is nice.
Yeah.
And menace and indestructible. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, because at least with the indestructible, you're pretty much safe to play it, and like you said, build up, get your engine going, because of the indestructible.
Yeah, she's a 3-cost card draw engine, which is good. That's what that's what you want. So
yes, so like I said, I felt this is one I could also see rising in my list, but right now we got them at number 7. So my number 8. It's an odd one. You're both going to giggle at me. That's okay. That's okay. I went with Spectacular Pileup. A spell to 3 anything, 2 white. All creatures and vehicles lose indestructible to end a turn, then destroy all creatures and vehicles. It's also a cycle card, which, whatever. But it's a way to deal with all the indestructible shit that's out there. Vehicles, units, everything.
Go ahead. But I disagree with the meh on the cycling part.
I mean, I like cycling.
Think that's actually what makes this, besides everything loses indestructible, which is big in Commander.
Mm-hmm.
But the cycling makes this useful even in things like Standard, because there's plenty of times when I'm playing a deck where there's a board stall or something, and I don't want to wipe my board because the opponent has a better way to come back from it, or I don't have any follow-up or whatever, and I keep stalling. And this isn't just a dead card in your hand, then. You can still cycle it and draw.
That's true, and you can put it in cycling decks. I have a cycling deck. This actually would probably slot in as a 1 or 2 of pretty nicely, actually.
And I have to say, there's been a lot of times where I'm playing a board wipe heavy deck where I'm drawing multiple wipes and there's nothing to wipe, and so you have 2-0 turns, and this at least lets you move forward a little bit.
Draw a card. It does something.
Yeah, the cycling is great on this, and like even I don't play Standard, so I don't know if there's any of the no creature BS stuff that I like to play. But like people do that stuff too. So when you if it didn't have cycling, then you just get a dead card in your hand.
Yeah.
You have to sit and hold the whole game. But with cycling, that means you can go and get a different card.
And also, I think we can't understate that the destroy all vehicles is also important here, because this is a vehicle-heavy set, despite vehicles being ass.
Yeah.
No one's gonna play vehicles.
But if you're playing casual with some other janky bastards, sometimes they play vehicles. And one of the reasons to play vehicles is to get around board wipes. So you can board wipe with a vehicle on board, it stays there, then you play any creature big enough to crew it, and even while it's exhausted, you can crew and still follow up the next turn.
Yeah.
That's the only good thing about vehicles, in my opinion. But in this case, it lets you get around that as well.
Yeah.
And there are a couple, I have one on my list we'll talk about, where just the vehicle being in play has a pretty big impact.
Yeah, there's a couple good vehicles in this set. For the most part, they're kind of crap. But like I said, I thought this was pretty sweet for what it does. The cycle's to me, it's just an added bonus. Like, it's great. So that's my number 8. My number 9 is a land, actually. And you're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So I was reading this one, and maybe because I'm still trying to figure out the whole speed bullshit. Okay, you get 1 colorless, whatever, but target creature gains haste until end of turn if you're max speed. So I feel, maybe I'm wrong, I don't play a ton of aggressive decks, but I feel like that could be really good in an aggressive deck, or a slower deck where maybe later game you're playing some big ass unit, it doesn't have haste, well, tap this sucker, now it does, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but in my brain, seeing this, I'm like,
I've seen it used to good, like, to some pretty good effect.
Yeah.
The nice thing about it is, again, it's one of those where it doesn't actually cost you any mana besides the one from tapping this to get that effect.
Yeah, it's a cheap
It's
cost.
just tap. There's no like everything else with lands has at least like a 2 cost or whatever. This hasn't. It's cheap.
Yeah, just have to have max speed. Which, like I said, late game you should hopefully have max speed to then start giving maybe some of your big chunkers haste, or units that they have an effect when they deal damage or do something. Well, now you have a way to immediately give them haste. So I thought this was kind of neat. It's like I said, it's at my number 9, so I didn't really have it too high because
I think it's good enough. It's colorless, so it can go in every deck. I wouldn't put a 4 of it in any fucking deck.
I think this would be a neat little command. Like if you're playing some big chunkers in a commander deck with, say, maybe like Oviya or something. Maybe you probably want one of these. Then you could maybe possibly give one of those.
I think it's useful even in standard to have a copy or 2 of it.
Yeah.
Just as a, hey, I'm happen to get max speed, this now becomes useful.
Yeah.
It's one of the few speed cards you don't have to build around to do shit.
And it's useful.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't hurt you.
No, this one isn't going to break the game, I don't think, but it's, like you said, it's very useful. It's a useful ability. It's a cheap use ability. I mean, haste is always nice, right? You always want haste. Especially if you can get it cheated out on some big chunker you just played with Oviya or something.
My only issue is that you can't really play it in like 3 color or more decks.
Yeah, because it's colorless.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because your mana's too tight there for that.
Yeah. So.
But in mono red, it works. That's what's
mono red love this card.
Yeah, mono red, or like I said, a mono green with Oviya or something like that. I think this is really nice, and I would probably use this. I probably will craft one just because I think it's pretty good.
And they're uncommon, so I just crafted all the raceways because there's only one that's difficult to do, the Murgata.
So that's my number 9. So my final card, my number 10, Defend the Rider. It's an instant 1 green. Choose one. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. Create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this token saddles, mounts, and cruise vehicles as though its power were 2 or greater. So I liked it because, one, as you saw earlier in my deck, I had the Debris Beetle, right? This can immediately crew it for 1 cost. Or I like the other part of it where, I'm going up against a removal-heavy deck. Okay, I can now give one of my permanents hexproof and indestructible. So I feel like for 1 cost, both those options are pretty good. Is it going to break the game?
Let's be honest. No. Are you ever really going to use the second choice?
If you are actually playing, if I'm actually building a deck around, my Beetle, or I know you're going to talk about a vehicle as well. If you have a few vehicles in your deck, I don't think it would be bad to put one of these in your deck. But yeah, mainly I think the first option in this is going to be the most played, right? In my opinion, that's what I would play for mainly. But the second part of it, I feel, is what put it on my list, because I'm like, well, you know what? The first part's pretty good. This is like a little extra thing that, hey, if I can use it, great. If not, I still got the first part. And again, for 1 cost at an instant, is it great?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what, a common?
I think it's good. I think it's a good common staple.
Yeah.
For a lot of decks, for protection, to protect whatever you have out.
Protection, I mean, I can see it being used in draft and stuff. Like I said, a 1 cost instant that does what it's doing. I don't hate it. So that's why I threw it in at number 10, because what the hell? Why not? So that was my top 10.
It's a fun card. It's going to blow somebody out one day, probably.
I mean, hopefully. You're not going to expect it, because it doesn't seem all that menacing, right? It doesn't seem anything. Most people are going to pass it over. I think it could be very useful. Probably standard too, right? Because standard, you'd be able to. You're going to have probably a lot more vehicles seen in standard now, just because of how they cycle their sets and whatnot. So probably see it more in standard.
High too.
Oh,
are they?
fairly high, yeah.
I
Higher
have
than
never
I would
played a
expect.
draft, so
Yeah, so that's my top 10. So up next, we're going to go to Seragyn's top 10. So let's pop his list up. Bam. Why is your... What in the world is going on here?
I guess this is what's editing for.
Yeah, well, I don't edit. Fuck it. We're just going to roll with it. I don't know why your list is all jacked up.
I mean, it's my list, so
I mean, it's just the how I have the coming up on the sides all borked. I don't know why. But the main picture's there. So Aetherspark you had first.
yeah. I regret that decision now. It's not that good. It just doesn't do much. I've yet to be able to actually get off any of its abilities besides the equipping. And it doesn't even do that much when you equip it. Like, for 4 cost to equip it, like, it's kind of a lot for just +1/+1, right? And then you have to be able to get that creature through to quickly jack it up. And I'm sure someone will find a way to make this do something. I just have found it lackluster so far. In fact, if I could change it out with another card, I would pick a vehicle, actually. And I'm going to fuck Pins up because he made a whole slideshow for this. Salvation Engine, which is one I left out. But yeah, it's a 6/10 vehicle where other artifact creatures get +2/+2.
All of you watching
And
this,
whenever
go
it
Google that.
attacks, return 1 target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It does have a ridiculous crew cost of 6, but being able to get stuff back, and if you're building an artifact deck, which this does, that's good. I had to throw that in because I forgot to tell you about it. I'm sorry, Pins.
That's okay.
Direct Pins. Yeah, and Aetherspark is on my list too. Like Pins was saying with that, that it's just slow. The other thing is its emblem. Well, not it's not even, it doesn't have a stupid emblem. It's max ability, like the get 10 mana. And when I'm playing, that just means I get 5 +1/+1 counters more on my thing. It's like, it's not game ending. So like, it's just meh. It looks really nice, but it's just meh.
And I think we were all excited because it's the first Planeswalker Flash equipment, and there's not a lot of colorless Planeswalkers. There's 2 that I can think of.
Yeah, there's the Karns, and then there's one other one.
But yeah, and so this idea of having Planeswalkers be other things, there's very few Planeswalkers that can do that, so that sounded really cool. But then its effects are, like I said, not really game breaking. Maybe the draw 2 cards I think is actually better than the gain 2 mana.
Yeah, like, if I don't have a card that lets me draw cards when it dies, then I've been using, I would use the draw 2 to try and dig for stuff.
That being said, the fact that it puts counters on rather than just giving a creature +1/+1 while it's attached can be abused. Like, I run a casual like Hamas deck, so he's a commander that costs less for all the different creatures you have with +1/+1 counters, and all your creatures cost less for that you play after him. So anything where you're doubling counters or doing a counter-driven strategy, this can still be really useful, even just for that.
That sounds. Yep.
All right. You ready for your number 2?
Sure.
All right, there it is.
What is it again?
Oviya, Automech Artisan.
Okay. Well, your list you have in that order is a little different than the one I have listed here. So I have the cards, I'm looking at them. I just don't have them in the same order. So just to be clear, I'm not that unprepared. We already talked about Oviya.
Yes.
I really like her in just a green stompy bastard deck as like a commander, especially, or even in like a standard, because it does make some of those really hard to cast like creatures do something. Like you get them out early. It's easy to ramp in green, so getting her out on turn 3 is almost a given. And then using her on turn 4 to play a 6+ up to like, fuck it, doesn't matter the cost, right?
Nope.
So you could play 13 costs, which I think is the highest cost creature out there, on turn 4. So that's pretty good.
All right, you're number 3. Mendant Core Guidelight. Does that sound right?
Yes.
All right.
So I put this at number 3 on my list, but I honestly think it was the one I was most excited to play. It's cheap. It's only 2 costs, so a white and a blue, easy to get out. Synergizes really well with the really toxic shit like Simulacra. So you can play lots of artifacts and expensive artifacts really fast and build up ridiculous boards and that kind of stuff. The problem is the speed mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So it only does anything at max speed. And max speed is not fast to get. So I find it hilarious and incredibly ironic that the mechanic called speed is slow as fuck. It's pretty much impossible to get it above to max speed before turn 4 or 5. I think 5 is actually more reasonable. So that's not fast, right?
No.
But once you get this there, like I have, it wins games. Like it is a game changer at that point if you've drawn the right artifacts to use it and can actually cast them.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but it's just slow. Is the problem. Like if
Right.
max speed, if you could get like 2 max speed a turn, this card would just be broken.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I've used it like in stupid long commander games to play stuff like Phyrexian Portal twice in a turn, which is just that wins a game right there, right?
If it doesn't, then I need to know what I need. I need your opponent's deck. If that doesn't,
Okay, so it doesn't work. It doesn't win against token decks.
Mm.
Doesn't they just sacrifice 9 tokens or 6 tokens or whatever it is? It is also fun putting him out with like what's the 4-cost 4/4 with Ward 2 that copies a creature type's abilities. Like if ability is triggered, it's triggered twice.
I know what card you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
Yes. Because then you're getting like 3 Phyrexian portals for a maximum of 11. It's still a maximum of 11. That's not anything to laugh at. But like you can put out some big shit. The problem I have is that a lot of the game-breaking artifacts are legendary for a reason, so you can't copy them like this.
Yeah.
Although, again, that's why I mentioned Phyrexian Portal, because it is not.
You can't copy a legendary, really? Oh, yeah, because the legendary rule, right?
Only one legendary can, legendary rule. Only one can be on the field.
So that's why there are some cards that let you get around that by specifically stating the copy is not a legendary.
Oh, this one just says it's the copy, just a token.
It's just a copy.
So it's a legendary token. Ah.
And I learned that really the hard way playing an Eldrazi deck with so there's an enchantment that automatically copies a spell you play if it's colorless. And I played a Miracle, so stole all my opponent's creatures, but then it copied it. And the other text on that particular card says, when this card dies, sacrifice all your creatures.
Whoops. I mean, I guess technically you wiped his board at least.
Yeah, it became a 13-cost board wipe then.
That had to suck. for both of
I
you.
mean, instead of winning the
Yeah.
game, it was a 13 cost board wipe.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I do actually really like this card. It's fun to play with. I don't know how reasonable it is in standard. I haven't gotten enough copies of these cards to put them in. I only have like one Aetherdrift standard deck currently, and that's the Bright Steel or Bright Glass. But yeah, he's fun in Commander. The other nice thing is Blue does have more ways than I originally thought to get the speed up. Originally, I was trying to go over the top with Thopters and just kept getting my ass handed to me. But Blue also has a lot of little unblockable dorks.
Oh, yes.
And those work. There's only 2 lands you can use for this. And out of a 100-card deck, that's not something you can really fucking count on. But I think in standard it's going to be easier to get speed up because you can have 4 copies of the deal 1 damage lands. But yeah, that's my take on this one. It's fun to play with. I don't think it's game breaking. It is very memey, which makes me love it.
There you go. All right, so you're number 4. Bam. March of the World Ooze.
So there's been a lot of hype about this card. It is expensive. It costs 6, but it's an enchantment, and that all creatures you control have base power and toughness of 6/6 and are oozes. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn, you create a 3/3 elephant creature token. So I've been using it in token heavy decks as kind of a second finisher. So, you put it with cards that I forget, Crater Hoof is what I use mostly in those decks. That just boost all your creatures for 1 turn and go, right? This is just a backup plan for that, right?
Yeah.
So
I've been playing this I only have 1 copy, but I played this with the hair. I have the hair.
Yeah,
deck.
I was gonna say the hair decks. We're gonna love
Yeah.
those.
Oh, God, you're a terrible person for doing that.
Yes, I am.
So all those little rabbits are
those
not so little anymore, huh?
The thing is with this, you don't want to play this when you already have big creatures out because it actually makes them fucking smaller.
Yeah, but what Spoon's doing with all those little rabbits.
But yeah, that kind of strategy, when you're making a shit ton of like little 1/1s, suddenly they're 6/6 and you're attacking for 8 trillion damage.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, if I'm reading the card right, if they cast a spell on your turn, you get the 3/3 elephant creature token, which basically is going to be a 6/6 ooze.
Right. So the idea is, if they destroy this enchantment, it reverts to 3/3. But it's going to be a 6/6 ooze at the time, and there are some decent commander cards too. There's one commander in particular that is all about its power and toughness or whatever. It's equal to the number of oozes you control.
Oh. Okay.
And there's Slime Against Humanity likes this card.
Also, the Nissa that makes the 0/1 saplings will love the card.
It's just anything that generates a lot of tokens is going to really, I think this is kind of an auto-include as one of your potential. Adding another finisher to the deck is always something that they're looking for. Problem with it, again, is the cost, the 6 cost, and the 3 green pips can make it hard to get. But there's ways to cheat it out, too, so.
Yeah, the 6 cost is more of the problem than the pips. Like I said, I played it in my hair deck, which normally you just want to be mono white, and so but I just splash green because there's enough with the verges and stuff like that. There's enough green white stuff that you can get the lands for it. So you can run it in a 2-color.
Oh yeah, I'm running it in my Bright Steel deck. Or Bright Glass. God, I can never get that right. I'm running it in that deck because I also run a bunch of, what are they called? The cages. The Hideaway 5 card for 2 cost. You tap it, put a +1/+1 Collector's Cage. Put a +1/+1 counter, and if you have 3 creatures of different toughnesses, you can play the card at Exiled for free.
Yeah.
So in that most of the cards are of the creatures are going to be mana dorks anyway. So I have 8 mana dorks in there. So this works great with that because then you can play it much faster.
Yeah, I think that's my problem with the Hairs is that I refuse to play mana dorks. So
Well, the mana dorks work with Brightglass because they're 1 cost, so I can fetch them easily.
Yeah, I know. Like that's just because like there's room in there for like mana dorks or mana rocks and stuff for that deck, but I just want to play all of the draw more cards stuff, and so I just stuff it with that because I want to draw all the cards.
Drawing.
Yeah, but sometimes you have mana to do that.
Yeah, I mean you're technically correct.
Drawing's so much fun, though.
The fucking best kind of correct. Thank you very much.
All right, so your number 5 now is, hopefully we match up, Thunderous Velocipede.
Okay, so this is a 3 cost, 1 colorless, 2 forest vehicle. So fairly cheap. It's a 5/5 with trample. But each other vehicle and creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if its mana value is 4 or less. Otherwise, so 4 or more, it enters with 3 additional +1/+1 counters on it. So it's crew 3. So pretty much anytime you play something, you can crew it. I like it because it's 3 costs, and you don't actually. The crewing is yay! I can have a 5/5 to block something or push some damage, but it does something while it sits there when I'm not crewing things, and has an immediate effect when I'm playing creatures after it.
Yeah, that's the part that I like about it. And also remember, crew 3 means that a pilot can crew it. That's what my market demarcation for vehicles. If it's over 3, then it's I won't draft the card. I won't play the card. Like
it better be goddamn good if it's over 3.
Yeah, it has to be game ending or something. Like there's obviously some vehicles that I wouldn't draft and play for that.
Right,
but
right.
It's a red flag that if it's 4 or more, then it's like
absolutely.
Like I said, pilots can crew 3 by themselves. So that's the mark that I have.
Right. And it's also, like I said, if this was just a 3 cost artifact that had this effect, was not potentially a 5/5 trample, I would still play this in every counter deck, right?
Yeah. That's
it's a really good. It's a really good effect. It's just a solid effect on it.
I would say that because I do play a lot of counter decks. I love like
you do,
Bristly Bill and all that kind of stuff. That for me, this is probably arguably the most useful card in the set. As far as efficient and what it does.
I could see that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Alright, so you're number 6. One we've seen before. Brightglass Gearhulk.
Okay, we talked about that one. Again, I love it. It's solid. Not a good commander card, I feel like. I mean, it's okay, but like it's kind of meh. But in standard play, it's really good when you can have multiple copies of it. And it's still good in commander, don't get me wrong. But like it's a build around card for standard.
Oh, like in the commander deck, he could actually be a really good commander.
He's not legendary, right?
Yeah, he can't be a commander. Otherwise, I would use him as one.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, he's not Lego, so. Yeah, we pretty much talked this guy out.
With the Gearhulks.
Yep, he's pretty solid.
And it's also in Silencia, the green-white. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, Silencia.
Draw options are relatively limited. And while this is only drawing you 1-cost cards, it is drawing you cards. And so, even if, like, regardless of everything else, you're not drawing that one cost card on your draw phase. You're thinning out those cards.
Yeah, but and also, so Lindsay, a white weenie, like the other color that it will usually play with that is green, because you
Yeah.
get your pump spells and all that other stuff, whatever. And so like it's a great card for that in my opinion.
Yeah, it can stand as its own build around, or it's a good complement to other strategies. So that's why I like it.
And yeah, like I said, I like all of the Gearhawks except for my Demir Gearhawk. It's just trash.
What does that one do again?
I don't remember. It's just
It's
it's
so
not
bad you
playable.
don't even remember. All right, got it.
I think I read it twice and then I was just like, yeah, this isn't gonna get played at all.
All right, what's next, Spence?
All right, your next one is what, number 7? Samut, the Driving Force.
This is one of the few speed cards that I do actually really like, in that the slowness in the mechanic doesn't particularly hurt. It's too expensive for anything other than Commander, and it's even a little bit expensive for that, just to be clear. But the second you play it, you get an immediate effect. You get up to speed 1, all your creatures get +1, and all your non-creature spells cost 1 less.
Yeah, more of the speed mechanic should have been like this, to where it's
Yeah,
tied
I
to
agree.
what your speed is.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just max speed, yeah, tying it to what your speed is, I think would be where it should have been. It has First Strike, Vigilance, and Haste, so it really pisses off all those deadly creature players. So fuck them all.
Yeah,
It's
vigilance and
fairly
haste. So I love it.
survivable. The Haste lets you possibly get in and get that speed up to 2 immediately.
Yeah, and with vigilance, that means you can do that and still have a defender.
Right. So I'm using it currently in like a very creature light deck that has a lot of token generators, enchantments, and other things to make little weenies that then get up to like a 1/1 becomes a 5/1, right? And those token generating cards are extremely cheap now. Because if you do get up to max speed, and I do think that these colors in particular, the red and white, have lots of easy ways to do like offhand plink damage just from playing one of your weenies. War Leader's Call, for example, or Tremors, that do 1 damage anytime something comes in under your control. So getting speed up with this is easy.
Well, like with red, you get like lightning bolt and all of the face damage stuff. So like, yeah, it's child's play.
The only issue I have with it is finding enough start your engine cards that are worth putting in a deck to get that started before you play the 6-cost monstrosity.
The one thing I do like about the Raceway cards, the Raceway lands, is that is one of the ways that you can do that early.
Right.
Start your engine, yeah.
But again, in Commander, I am playing all 4 of them. But even then, I've had several games where I'm playing pretty much every single start your engines card I could fit in there. And I have games where I cannot get shit started before I get Samut down on like turn 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's the other problem with the start your engines. Because like, I don't remember who said it here before. Like, it's like the mechanic feels very like as a limited mechanic, like a draft and sealed mechanic, and like you can't play a bunch of those cards in constructed, and so
they're just not good enough.
And there's not enough of them, right? It's only 1 set so far. I mean, if it's
but even then, when you're playing them, they're generally just not even the max speed effects for all but the few cards on this list, right, are not good enough to warrant being put in for anything else than enabling those other cards. They actually make your deck worse.
Oh yeah.
And then like I was saying too, that there's not enough of the individual parts, and that's what I was saying as a limited. Because like in limited, what you want to do is you want consistency. So like you build your around commons and uncommons, and so like but you want like 2 or 3 of those cards. But like you can't do that in you can't do that. Well, you can't do that in Brawl and Commander, and then like in Constructed, like those cards that you decide to put in there have better be good, or you're just gonna get blown out.
Right. They have to be good enough to warrant their inclusion in and of themselves. But yeah, this commander deck for me has done amazing things. And when it goes off, it is really good. But all my losses have been basically it sits around and doesn't do anything until turn 6 or nothing impactful. And by then it's too late.
Yep. You're done then by then.
And also it does make things cheaper so you can do burnouts, but it's never going to be like a tier 1 brawl deck because it doesn't have any of the like one turn kill combo kind of stuff. Because you are relying on because it doesn't infinitely reduce the card cost, it's just by 4.
Yeah, it's by 4 colorless, right?
Yes. Now I've tried fucking around with that with chromatic Ori.
That could be interesting.
So it gives everything a blanket -4. But I haven't been able to play with enough to really honestly see if that makes much of a difference or if it even actually works with that. It should, but I've never been able to get them both out in the same game. Even though she does make chromatic Ori cost 3.
Yeah, MX speed. Yeah, that'd be.
Which
that
makes playing it an instant gain 2 extra mana, essentially. Because it pays for itself.
Yeah. That's
All right, so let's see what's up. Number 7, 8, 8, right? 8. Number 8. It's one we've seen already. You had Ketramose, the New Dawn.
Yeah, we talked about Ketramose. I think it's probably the most versatile as far as commanders.
Yeah.
And that it's the one most likely to see regular play, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I think I had it one spot higher.
Yeah, it'll probably see some play in if I don't know if white black is gonna be good enough in standard. I don't know what cards are there, but a 3-cost card draw engine that's good value. So it could see play just for that.
And also considering that what is by a lot of people considered the best current removal is an exile card in white.
Yeah. Like the ghost card, yeah. So, and then there's also the vacuum cleaner, the artifact that I don't remember the name of. I just call it the vacuum cleaner.
Ghost vacuum.
Yeah.
It's literally ghost vacuum. That's it.
Oh, ghost vacuum. Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, I like that because that's a guaranteed I'm getting a draw that turn.
Yep.
And I'm getting rid of something of yours. My commander deck is really focused on exile permanents as opposed to creatures or any of that. So I'm getting rid of one of your things and I'm drawing a card.
Now this doesn't say once per turn, right? So if you exile 2 things, you get 2 cards. Am I reading that correctly, huh?
Yes. As long as it's on your turn, you keep drawing.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful thing. All right, so you're number 9. Aether Syphon.
I put this on there because I wanted to play with it, and it's kind of fun. I do still like it. it's not like I've only had a couple games where it actually made a difference, to be honest. But it's a 3-cost artifact, 2 tap to draw a card, which is decent in and of itself. Start your engine, so it starts all that up if you don't have it already. But at max speed, whenever you draw a card, each opponent mills 2 cards. So you put this with something like Verbose, one of the other new Start Your Engines cards. The 1 colorless, 1 blue, 0/4 legendary. That whenever you draw a card, you draw 2 cards. You can do some significant mill. In fact, I have a copy artifact deck that's a speed deck, using it with Mendicant Core, and stuff like Worldbreaker Helm, where you just keep making fucking copies of this and drawing cards.
Milling your opponent, you dirty mill player, you.
Yeah, but it's not a combo mill. It's not going to be fast. It's not going to be, holy shit, my deck's suddenly gone. It's I sit there and watch this shit build up, and now I'm fucked.
Janky ass mill.
Yes, the best kind of mill.
All right, on to your last card then, Seragyn, number 10, Possession Engine.
So this is a 5-cost, 3 colorless, 2 blue mana artifact vehicle with a crew of 3. And when this vehicle enters, gain control of target creature an opponent controls for as long as you control this vehicle. And that creature can't attack or block for as long as you control this vehicle. So you steal an opponent's creature. In Commander, it's great to just steal their fucking commander, especially if it's one of those, like the good commanders, that has kind of a ongoing effect and doesn't need to attack. And now you have someone to crew this vehicle that was going to be useless anyway.
That's the best part of this card.
It's pretty hilarious.
And you're shutting down key strategies. And I've used this, like it's in the Mendicant Core deck again, because then I can get 2 of them. And you steal a commander, and you steal whatever other big fucking bastard they have that is having a board effect constantly.
Still an indestructible, right? I mean,
yeah, and or just anything. Like I've used it on what is it, a Shia, or the card that makes all your creatures, non-token creatures, into lands. Steal that, and now I've got all the lands I could ever need. Gives there's the commander that gives you bonuses to everything for the number of legendaries you have, you know, shit like that. You're just like really pissing people off, and you lock them out of using it until they find a way to get rid of it.
Yeah, if they don't have any artifact hate, well, they're shit out of luck.
And so most of the time, it's not worth making it a creature or attacking with it, because then you risk losing that thing. But if there's a clear board and you can, well, fuck it. I'm going to use your own shit as the crew.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Again, not game breaking, although it can be in Brawl.
Yeah.
But it's just fun.
It's just solid.
I'm gonna be building this because this is what I want to do. I just want to troll people. So this is a
it's
card.
So much fun trolling people. It really is. And then the copy artifact decks, I just keep copying this bastard and steal everything they put out. See, the rage quits. Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
I love this card. This might be my favorite card now.
Again, it's not great, but it's fun.
It's very trollish, and we approve of that. Alright, so that is Seragyn's list. On to Spoons, and again, why
the jankiest list of them all.
Well, we would expect nothing less. Why the hell? There we go. Okay. Gotta reset your list too. Alright, so your number 1 is Marketback Walker. We are ready for your soliloquy on this card.
Alright, I set my timer to 2 minutes, so I'm not gonna talk.
We should have made him do this one last.
Yeah.
No, I love this card. This is This is like Hangerback Walker. When Hangerback Walker was in standard and in modern, it was just broken. And Hangerback Walker has similar text, except for when it dies, um, it makes stoppers. It makes 1/1 stoppers equal to the number of counters on it. And this one draws you cards, which is better in my opinion because I love to draw cards when it dies. And the best part is they don't have the same name, so you can play them both in the same deck, and that's what I would do. And that's what I am doing. And just start putting a bunch of counters on them. I don't know how good this will be in standard, but there's modern decks that are playing it. I have a Tron deck that plays this, and it just steamrolls stuff that doesn't deal with Tron lands. So it's a fun card.
It is.
I like it.
It is fun. It's expensive, and honestly, though, one of the things I like about it is it can actually serve as a deterrent to keep your opponent from attacking you.
Yeah. They don't want to attack you. They don't want to sweep the board while it has a, so like they get into they get into these positions to where they don't want to let you draw, your 3 cards because there's 3 counters on it. But if they let it live, then you're gonna get 2 more counters. And
right.
so like the longer, so like it puts a bunch of pressure on them to have to figure out, what you're going to do about this thing that it's going to steamroll that could steamroll the game. And like you're saying, like they don't want to attack into it because I'll block and I'll jump with it and I'll draw my cards and draw into answers and whatever. And so it's fun, but like you're saying, it is expensive. I don't know. You probably can't play this standard, probably. Like I said, with the Tron lands, like you can get it out, turn 3, turn 4, and get like 3, 4, 5 counters on it. Yeah, it's fun.
The other problem I see is that same thing with the Hangerback Walker, is that the prevalence of exile removal at this point.
Yeah.
Especially when again, Sheltered by Ghosts is the most popular removal card in the game right now, and you exile this, and then you get nothing for a lot of mana.
Yeah. That's the problem that I've been running into in Modern also. Is that
that's the problem I've had with it because I've been playing with it as well, and when it works, it's like when they have to, or even I've used it with Nexus.
Yeah, it's fun.
When I needed to draw cards.
Yeah, there's, the good thing is that there's not a whole bunch of cheap sweepers that are exile all creatures. So if you can get a lot of them, in your hand or on the field and stuff like that, then you're okay. The problem is when you don't do that and they can just 1-for-1 you and still win, then that's when it's sad.
But I like the card. I like the flavor. I like what it does. The cost has been prohibitive to me before.
Yeah. Like I said, like I don't know how you play this not in Tron.
Yeah.
And then just hope you don't get it exiled, or you get you're on the struggle
this
bus.
has to go in my Karn colorless deck.
Yeah. And in that deck that I showed you, like I have another card that's not. Oh, we already talked about Aetherspark. I have the Aetherspark in there, and the Aetherspark took the place of Karn, and that's a huge mistake. And I put Karn back in, and Karn is dominating, and Aetherspark is back to the card sleeves where it belongs.
Are you ready?
We can go on to the next one.
I want to make sure you went through your whole prepared statement on this card.
You don't want to hear the whole prepared statement.
Oh.
No, we don't.
Did we get the short version?
Yeah. You don't want to hear me talk about doubling season and all this other stuff that we can do.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we don't want it. We don't want it. We don't want to be here all day.
All right,
Destroy
next
the
card.
whole fucking deck.
Moving on. Number 2, Pia Nalaar, Chief Mechanic.
So I saw this and I thought it was gonna be a lot more fun than it is. Because like I like energy, and I like artifacts and all that stuff. Um, and I didn't read the card properly. So like you get energy from artifact creatures hitting the opponent. I thought it was just dealing
Mm-hmm.
damage, and so if it's dealing damage, then that's easy to do. But like hitting the opponent, that kind of sucks. Um, so,
And also,
but
I should note it's whenever one or more. So you can't hit with 5 artifact creatures and get 10 fucking energy.
Yeah.
yeah. There's that too. Yeah, that's the other thing that I didn't read. But yeah, it's it's not each instance. It's those. And so like then you need to figure out how to do like double damage or double strike, because like if you double strike and you hit both times, and those are 2 different instances. And so, but like it becomes convoluted, and so like but
Mm.
I thought it was gonna be more fun than it is. Um, so, but like you can, if you're not gonna depend on her to make the energy, this you can do stuff with it, because like you can make a really big thopter with with those energies and stuff like that, and so she could work. But I thought she was gonna be. I thought she could just do all the stuff by herself, and she can't.
Mm.
Right. And the thing she makes, and I want to talk about this at the end, is a vehicle, which is in and of itself kind of a downside.
Yeah. Because then you have the crew, but it's not a big crew cost. But yeah, it's the one thing. The one good thing about it being a vehicle, like we were talking about earlier, is that it can evade a lot of the sweepers in the game. So there's that.
All right.
So yeah, I thought she was gonna be more fun than she was, and she's not.
Womp womp. It happens. Number 3.
Also, in her defense, I decided that I was gonna try and play like frog mites and frog mirrors and all these bad affinity creatures. And that's probably the worst strategy. Probably like playing more like flyers and toppers and stuff that with evasion that can actually do real damage and stuff like that is probably gonna be better. So I made a bad deck, but also like I didn't read her cards very well.
Yeah.
All right. So number 3 for you, Spoon, was Hunt the Network.
This is a sweet card. I picked it because I think that this is going to be a great draft card, a great limited card. And so I play a lot of limited. I'm the only one here that plays limited, so others you can't say anything. But it being limited.
I said, yeah, I can say things. It just doesn't mean anything.
Oh yeah. So
that's never stopped me.
No.
Fuck you, Vince.
But that's true. Yeah. So, but I think this might have legs to be able to be played in constructed, just because of how at least in standard, because of how many artifacts there are that like does stuff. Like there's a fire artifact that comes in. It's like I think it has 3. It deals 3 damage, and stuff like that. Like you can just play a bunch of these artifacts that just come in and do stuff. Maybe even some of the vehicles that just come in and do stuff for the first 4 turns of the game. Play this out, and like even if you're behind, like this card, if you have like 5, 7 artifacts on the field, like the game just swings because you get 2 more artifacts, and then you drain for that much damage. So
again, food decks.
Yeah, and then there's all kinds of there's food tokens, there's
treasure
tokens, there's all these things. Like there's so many strategies. I think it's gonna be good. I love this card.
I could see it being a finisher,
and
possibly.
yeah, yeah, it's just I think it has legs. I like this card. I think people are sleeping on it. I think it's going to be good. So,
I think I
and
slept on it. Looking at it again, I can see a lot of, especially I underestimated how artifact centric a lot of these new decks are going to have to be.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be fun. So I like the card. I think Saffron did play this also in that Boom Bike deck, and it was better. I think he had yeah, it was the Radio Lotus deck with Boom Bike, and he had this also. And the games he finished with this were just much better than the games that he finished with the Radio Lotus, just because it's faster and less dependent on you. So next card.
Next card up, number 4. Magmakin Artillerist. He looks pissed off.
This is a draft card. I think it's gonna also be a card that could be good and stuff. Like there's a bunch of the discard synergies and stuff like that.
Oh, cycling.
Yeah. And so he just deals damage. It's the opposite of the of the decks that like when you draw a card, like you deal damage. And so I think he could do stuff. Like I said, I put him in here just in limited draft because he's a common, so you could theoretically have like 5, 6, 7 in your pool, and the game could just get out of control with it.
Yeah.
And he is a pirate,
you play him
so
and you cycle another one, and
I don't know if there's pirate stuff you could do with him because he is a pirate.
I did not notice that he was a pirate.
He's an elemental pirate, so yeah.
So you can do pirate stuff. You can do the not criminal outlaw. I forgot what it's called. Where the
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Those things too. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun stuff you could do with him. I was just thinking about him in limited. I think I was looking at the whole pool, and I was like, he's going to there's going to be people are going to get pools with a lot of him, and they're going to win a lot of games because of it.
I don't like his name.
Magmakin Artillerist.
So this comes from a former red leg. So a 13 Bravo in the army is an artillery crew person. And no one says artillerist. What the fuck, man?
That's fair, but you do get the you get the saying you get the word on the names for this.
I might put him in my cycle deck actually. When I look at him.
Actually, I think he would. I was gonna say he'd be good in a cycle deck.
And I have one. Because I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, you are. But I think he's not terrible, and you're right. He's a common. In limited, I can see this being fucking ridiculous because he also enables other copies of himself.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, he's just. That's why I was saying like him like one of the like if you get one of these like whatever it's not gonna do anything. But like you could get pulls where you just have a bunch of these and like it's just broken.
Even if you have 2 out.
Yeah, I like that.
Put 2 out in a cycle deck and just start pinging away.
And also there's not a bunch, but there's a lot of other cycling cards that are at common and uncommon also.
Oh yeah.
That's your number 4.
So number 4, this is
your number.
That
yeah, this is your number 4 I have on my list, right? Is that wrong? Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah. Magmakin was number 4. Yeah, I'm ready for the next one.
I heard he is, or she is, or what the hell, whatever the hell that thing is. Winter Curse Rider.
Well, yeah. So first, I like the art, and then
yes, the art's sweet.
So, and I'm a Dimir player, so I like that. But like the card itself is sweet. Like it has ward, which ward is always great. And then it gives your other artifact ward. This might actually be a good Um, good in good in artifacts like heavy like a Tesseract commander
Mhm.
deck, because then you get to protect your artifacts that you need and stuff like that. So
I could see it
um,
as a good commander.
yeah, it could be a commander too.
And it's a
Um,
cheap commander at
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Because
it just
it's
costs
board
two.
wipes.
Yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say too. Yeah, it has a board wipe. It has a commander. Then you could use their exhaust again if they leave the command zone. So I hadn't thought about using it as a commander.
Yeah, because he
But like,
dies too to his own effect. No, each other, so he doesn't die.
yeah, it's
Um,
other. It's not just them.
but
Um,
there's lots of blink, and who gives a fuck, right? There's lots of
yeah,
sacrifice outfits in Demir.
yeah, it's Demir. You have blink stuff in Demir. Like that's how you combat all this bullshit. You just blink stuff out. So
But you
like,
gotta
Yeah,
watch
exactly.
if they're playing artifact creatures. He doesn't do anything, right? From Unless I'm reading that wrong.
no,
No,
yeah,
if they're playing an artifact, if it's a Karn deck, it's womp
Yeah.
womp and you auto concede.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah. Each other, and actually, if you're so he wouldn't affect your if you're playing artifact creatures, right? As well.
right,
So you could
which is why you would
one-sided
play
wipe.
him.
Yeah.
If you play
Oh yeah.
artifact
Yeah,
heavy
Yeah.
with stuff like Lotus, so you can sacrifice that Marketback
Mm,
Walker, draw some cards, and then
yeah.
board wipe.
Yeah. He looks like he'd be a sweet commander to mess around with.
yeah. And I like him, and like no one was talking about him. I was like, this is a good card. Like it's gonna be very annoying to deal with. Like because like every card with ward is always annoying
Yeah,
to deal with.
and
Mm-hmm.
now the Ward 2 life,
Eh.
um, I honestly think is less impactful than just Ward 2.
Yeah. Or even ward one. Like them, because like life. If you only need one life to win, so
Right,
um,
exactly.
so
So like
um,
you can pay that ward cost and still develop your board.
yep, yep. And so
But it is
um,
something. There's a certain point where you're like, well, fuck. If I keep warding, I'm just dead. If I keep trying to kill these things.
Mm-hmm.
yep. That's what. Yeah, and that's that's why it's just annoying. Because like you'll get into a game and you'll be like, well, if I just didn't if I didn't take those other two damages, I would have been able to win on this next turn. And so like
Mm-hmm.
it forces your opponent to have make decisions, and that's
Right.
always great.
And if it's an opponent like myself or Pens, then making me make a decision probably is a good thing for you because I make very poor decisions.
Yeah.
uh, maybe, except for when you're just playing a bunch of uh, you know uh, planeswalkers um, in your yeah, in your brawl deck, then we're already we can't do
Yeah.
anything about that.
Yeah.
So that was your what? 5.
5.
So number 6 for you now, Spoon. Rise from the Wreck. That seems like an interesting one.
This is the card that brings 2 vehicles back, right?
Return up to 1 target creature card and up to 1 target mount card, up to 1 target vehicle card, and up to 1 target creature card with no abilities.
Yeah,
So this returns a lot of shit
This is this is the one that brings 4 cards back. This is
from your graveyard
Do
to
all
your
those
hand.
cards have to have no abilities?
no, one of them has to have no abilities.
Okay.
Target creature
one,
card.
one creature has to have no abilities, and then the other 3 can just be regular whatevers.
All right. That's
Yeah, target creature, target mount, target vehicle, and then a target creature with no abilities. Those are the 4 things you can return to your hand from your graveyard for 3 cost sorcery.
Yeah.
I want to put this in an Insidious Roots deck.
Yeah, there's fun stuff you can do with it. I don't know what deck you're going to be playing that you're going to be playing vehicles and mounts in.
Yeah,
But maybe that exists. I don't know.
I feel like if you're playing a vehicle-heavy deck, because most of them suck so hard, you're probably also playing mounts.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what decks these go into. I was just looking, but like for for limited,
Survivor
this
deck.
is a good.
That's what you play this in.
Oh, I forgot about survival. Yes, that's
So
exactly the deck you put
what's
this
the
in.
card? I have a commander that I use. It's quite fun. That when she is tapped, you play like a card of X value from your deck for the number of creature cards you have tapped. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I hadn't even. Yeah. So, but like, I just thought the card is sweet because like, at worst, like if you're playing a vehicles deck, you're gonna you probably like you can build your deck to where you can get two of those creatures back. Like you get you get two of the creatures back because you're probably gonna have some big overstated vanilla creature that can pilot your stuff that you can
And
get
they
back.
did put every color in this set has a undercost, overstated, legendary creature that has no abilities.
Yeah, there's a 2-cost 3/3 and white. That's a legendary one. Yeah, and then the other ones have some. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. Yeah, and so it's I think it's a fun card. It's viable. It's very slow. It's not a it's not an aggressive card, but
Because you do have to replay those fuckers later.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. Is you get up to 4 cards back from your graveyard, but they're to your hand. So, yeah, you gotta replay that shit.
no, that's all I gotta say about it.
All right, well then, we're gonna move on to number 7, right? Yeah, 7, right? This is one we've seen before.
Number 7.
Loot.
Yeah, loot is fun. We already talked about
we
the
love
fun,
loot.
cards and stuff you can do with it.
We love that little shit.
I want to talk about his skills. I don't know if they call them battle skills in Magic, but I'm gonna call them battle skills because I'm an Eternal player. Go play Eternal, people. Vigilance and haste is ridiculous. Every creature they put that on has the potential to just be broken, in my opinion. And so like, and then not just that, like he has vigilance and haste, which is great. And then he gets exhaust. So like you can play him, he can attack, he can still defend, and he can still use his exhaust abilities to do whatever exhaust stuff he wants to do. And then, like I said, with the exhaust, like they you can only use them once, but if you replay them, so like you can blink him or return him from the grave and all that other stuff.
So would you say he's Aldi brand Kindred?
He's definitely Aldi brand Kindred, yes.
Because he's just cheaper in every facet. But you can only use him like once without some kind of mechanic.
He's cute.
Yeah.
For our viewers that aren't aware, Kindred is a white commander that has like 3 costs. I think they are 3 or 4 for abilities for all different colors that are non-tap abilities that do a lot of the same shit, actually.
Yeah.
So go look up that card, folks.
Go look it up.
Yes.
Also, the thing I like about loot is that the first like cycle that I fell in love with were the guild mages, especially the Dimir guild mage. That's why I'm a Dimir player. And like exhaust feels kind of like that kind of thing, that kind of ability. Because like I remember playing a standard, and like that's what like you won games by how well you could like utilize those guild mages, and so that's what loot kind of feels like. And I hope that I wish that they made exhaust better than they did, like on the other cards, like not on loot, but like on the other cards.
Yeah, that's a them problem. We love loot. That's all we know.
Like, what is the one that's exhaust 10 to do some shit?
Ugh. That sounds ass.
Well, we talked about it. Like, the other night on stream. You were looking at it. It's an exhaust, it deals some amount of damage or something.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it was, yeah. It was not good.
So, but y'all said everything else about Luke.
Yep,
I like
so-
the card. I think he's going to be a good commander.
Yep.
And I think you could probably see some play in standard, maybe, probably.
Let's move on. And your number 8 we've seen again. Aetherspark. The Aetherspark. A little bit of a womp womp.
Aetherspark.
Huh?
Yeah, Aetherspark. So, like I was saying, I put this in my Marketback Walker, Hangerback Walker counters kind of deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I only bought 2 because like I didn't want to waste all of my tickets buying 4 of these, and I regret buying 2 of them. I probably should have just bought 1. And I played white because I got 2 ways to be able to get equipment cheap in white.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I could go and draw it. And I found that, just playing 4 Karns or 8 4 Karns and 4 Ulumogs was probably a better
Yeah.
slots than playing like 4 to 6 cheap ways to go and get it, and then having the Aetherspark on there not doing anything.
Mhm.
And like I said, the thing that I like the +1 ability. It's great. The -2 to draw 2 cards is great. Its final ability is just do nothing.
It's
Like
pretty
10
ass.
mana is great. 10 mana is great, but like it doesn't win you the game. And like all of the good planeswalkers, like you get emblems that
Mhm.
just like when they come on the field, like your opponent's just like, oh, I'm gonna lose now, or like they swing the game if you're losing. They they bring you back to parity, or they bring you back to winning. And like 10 mana doesn't do that. Like you still need cards to do something. And
It's
in my
free.
deck,
And
like,
even
I do-
ones that don't give you like an emblem, like the a Johnny that gives you 100 life.
Yeah. That's game. That's what I mean. Like it swings the game. Like you're like 100 life is that swings the game.
This is very underwhelming for what its ultimate is. Like, by the time you get there,
Yeah.
10 mana, like you said, doesn't mean shit. It doesn't. Who cares?
It does have the possibility of getting up to that 10 pretty fucking quickly if you put it on Galta,
Mm.
or something like that, and attack for like 12.
Well, I put it on an Ugin not companion, Ugin consult, but it's a single X creature that gets X counters for however much you pay for it, and I paid 9 for it. No, yeah, I paid 9 for it. Put it put the Aetherspark on it. No, I put it had 8. I paid 8 for it. Put the Aetherspark on it. It had 9 damage. I attacked in. It got all the all the damage. In the next turn, I had 10 more. I had 10 mana, and like there's just like nothing I could do with it. And so I had all the mana in the world, but like I couldn't do anything. If I had Karns in my or Ulamoks in my hand, then it would probably be better. But so.
But you didn't, so.
But I didn't.
I'm sure it will find use in some decks, and it will be good, but it's not
not there
every
yet.
deck is going to play this because every deck can.
Yeah, it has a very high floor. I think that it's a good card. It's not unplayable. It's not bad.
Mhm.
Like if I saw it in draft,
Right.
I draft the card immediately every time. It's a good card. It's just its ceiling. Like when it came out, like everyone's like, "Oh, this is gonna be the best thing ever." Blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And ceiling is just not that high, in my opinion.
Yeah,
All right, so that's
and it
Aetherspark.
takes setup to get there.
It's funny though. I think it's the only card that made it to each of our lists. I think there
Because
were.
there's so much hype around it.
That's true. I mean, that's
Yeah,
why I
'cause everyone
honestly
told
put
me
it on my list. It was just too hyped. I'm like, well, I got to see. but I think there were a
I
couple
mean,
that were
even
on.
if you do all the counter doubling stuff,
Mhm.
like what is it, the talents and all that, to play it and immediately be able to use it. So yes, you're getting a net 6 mana, but you have to have something to make that worthwhile.
Yeah, you have to have a fireball in hand.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't do anything on its own, which I think is, for a lot of the cards in this set, an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fun. Like I like synergy sets. I like drafting synergy sets, and so that's fun. But like I imagine that like you can't that doesn't you can't build synergy like synergy decks in modern. They don't work unless there's enough of the mechanic for it to be able to do that. That's the problem with exhaust and max speed. There's just not enough cards that make it
Agreed.
work.
So that's the Aetherspark. So your number 9 is one we've seen before.
Oh, it's Radiant Lotus.
Bam, there it is. You said it. Now it's up on the screen.
Yeah. Radiant Lotus. I thought this was going to be a bad card, and it was just on my list because everyone was saying that it was good. It's great. It's it's another Lotus and stuff like that. And I did read this card, and I did know we have a bunch of tokens that you can sacrifice to make a bunch of mana, but it's still it has the same problem that Aetherspark has, that you need something else in hand to use all that mana for, and so
if you have that, it's great.
It's a combo enabler basically, and so I don't like combo decks, so I don't like this card just because that's just not my playstyle.
But to be fair, getting it out too with Samut is kind of nice.
Yeah. There's stuff someone's gonna break this card. It's a good card. It's just it's not something that I would have fun doing myself.
Well, then your final card. Push the limit.
Okay, this is a terrible, terrible card, and no one should ever play it. Push limit is a 7 cost, right? Sorcery.
Yeah,
it is.
5 colorless, 2 fire.
But you have it in your top 10, so I feel like you're contradicting yourself.
But this card is this is fun. So what I imagine you want to do is you want to faithless looting and just loot away a bunch of vehicles. And fire has some good vehicles. And then of course you can pick your other color. Probably white is. Did I say fire?
You did, but I know what you mean. Red.
Red has good vehicles.
I
and white.
What about black? Because doesn't black also let you discard? Anything that lets you discard, right?
Black has discard. White has discard too.
Okay.
And so you can get all of these vehicles in your graveyard and just go to town on one turn. I think there's probably some
one turn only.
For 1 turn only. You better win. That's the problem with this card. It costs 7, and basically when you play it, you have to basically win on that turn, or you're probably gonna lose the game. And so
I think it would be actually better
to not play this card.
If you're playing red, white, black, yes. But red, white, black, there's a lot of things you can do where when a creature dies, it also deals damage. The problem with this card is the sacrifice, if it happened at your in turn, would actually be better than at the next in turn.
That's what I mean. That's the problem, because I was looking at stuff and I was if you if it's sacrificed at the end of your turn, there's a lot of fun stuff you could do. But
you could break it with that.
I feel like I have to build one of these just to see what the hell I can do with it now. It's a common, isn't it?
It's so fucking expensive.
It is. It is.
Well, you know, if you put it with Samut, you can get it out there for 3 cost.
There you go.
That's true.
Because I know Red has a bunch of ways you could also, discard a card from hand to draw to, or just, so you just toss all your mounts and your vehicles in your graveyard.
Yeah.
Your overcosted bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in Modern, Red has Faithless Looting. I don't know if Faithless Looting is in. I hope it's not in Standard. But like yeah. So like Faithless Looting is you draw 3 and you discard 2. So like you can just you can start with hands with Faithless Looting and a bunch of vehicles that you can. The other thing is like you can play any of the vehicles. Like it doesn't really matter the color of the vehicles.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna discard them away.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and so
You can play that big white bastard that's like 7/7 flying, vigilance, first strike, lifesteal.
Yeah, why not? We're not gonna play it fairly, so
We're just gonna discard it.
Yeah, so
It's gonna give its life for our weird plans.
I think it could be fun. You can make some jank out of this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I want to see what janky shit I can do.
The biggest problem though is that like graveyards aren't safe anymore because like everything can exile from it. You got the stupid vacuum and stuff. So
I mean, that's when you just top right. If they're playing that, you just top right. Move on.
But I think I've started to put in pretty much every deck, at least Commander and Standard, at least a couple exile opponent's graveyard cards. Just to prevent this kind of bullshit.
Yeah, and isn't Rest in Peace, isn't it in Standard?
Yes.
I know it's on Arena. Yeah, so like,
yeah.
it's not safe. This is just a fun card that I think that would be fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
there's that. It's
so we end with
like,
a mega janky card. I love it.
I gotta look at the vehicles because there's probably enough vehicles that you would want to, like, if you could play them for free
and have them charge and
like,
attack immediately. Oh yeah.
And then also just like some of them have really good into the battlefield or like when they attack stuff on them too.
Yeah, there.
So it could be fun, I think.
Well, I'm adding it to my list. Damn, you're gonna make me craft
But
some
also,
stupid shit.
It's a common. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I do want to mention an honorable mention real quick for Commander. There is a 4/2 vehicle that when you play it, you gain, I think it's 3 life. It's green. And it's a mana rock for 3.
Yeah,
I do think that for Commander, where you're playing mana rocks, that is just a better mana rock.
Yeah, it's basically a mana rock that's kind of like a creature land, kind of, sort of. That it just sits there, and then at some point in the game you might need a little extra damage, or the opponent like just completely forgets that it's there because you've just been tapping it for mana. They never read the card, and then like out of nowhere it just kills them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's one you might draft as well, like in limited.
So
yeah, I think I would draft it if I were especially. Especially if I was in green. Like even if I wasn't, I think I probably would still consider it.
I should have had I forgot to have another graphic for final thoughts, but oh well. But any final thoughts? The set has been out as of this recording. The set has been out for what? Now 2 days, 3 days. Came out Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It came out Friday morning, so
yeah, about
2 days.
Two and a half.
I have 2 things I would like to discuss with you guys.
Okay.
The first is how vehicles are such a great idea, but
they suck.
just don't get there.
Yeah.
I would
so
agree.
Yeah. I was
the
just very.
vehicles are often much bigger than the things that are crewing them. Sometimes they do some cool stuff. They can get around some of the board wipes and stuff like that. But you have to have some way to enable them to use them as either an attacker or blocker. And that means, yes, if you've got a board stall and you can get out one of the flying vehicles and do some damage over the top, that's when they shine. They're great, right? But when you're just like one-on-one needing to stop something, they really, really don't do much.
Yeah, my problem with them, and like I like the cheaper vehicles are fine, like the 2 and 3 cost ones. But like when you're playing like a 4 cost vehicle on the board that doesn't do anything when it comes into the game, like it's almost a concession play sometimes. Like especially if you're playing against aggro. Like
I think they are better in Commander than they are in Standard or Limited.
Yeah.
By far. But yeah, a lot of them that do stuff, even when they do, it's on attack.
Yeah. But I was talking about like there's one that like drains when you cast it. So like that one's okay.
That was one on my list. The debris beetle.
So
yeah,
some of
debris
these
beetle.
new vehicles are better because they do something. But a lot of the old, even like legendary ones, are just okay.
Yeah.
I've played this expensive ass card this turn. I can't block with it, or if I do, I have to tap half my fucking board. I can't attack with it immediately. Just it's too reliant on having other things out there, and often what they do does not justify their cost. Because they're generally not cheaper than just a creature with the same stats would be.
I don't know. It's a neat idea that's just kind of diarrhea. It's just.
And they tried to push it so hard in this with the different pilots and stuff, which is great, but I think it's just still not enough.
Yeah, I was not wowed by this set, like, theme of the set, because I was like, oh, vehicles. Cool. Like.
And also, this set is really pushing artifacts.
Yes. Well, because it makes sense. Vehicles are artifacts, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much everything in this set has some kind of affinity with artifacts.
Which it should. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, and there's affinity. That's the other thing. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about, because like there's other creatures from other decks and stuff like that. There's so many artifacts like right now that it makes that affinity stuff actually kind of work. Like even like I was talking about like the vacuum, that's an artifact, and like there's just like so many just incidental artifacts going around that affinity might actually be a thing. And I don't know if I'll be sad. Like I like artifacts, but it'll be interesting.
I've seen some good affinity decks in Brawl, and they can be pretty strong. I don't like most affinity like creatures. There is a new spell, actually, that's a sorcery that you draw 3 cards and gain 3 life, and it's like 5 cost.
Oh
or
yeah,
7 cost or some bullshit.
It's 5 colorless. Yeah, it's 5 colorless and 2 blue, and so like you can easily just cast it for 2 blue. So you draw 2 cards and gain 3 life, all that fun stuff.
But the problem is it's a late game. Like you can't do that early. But yeah, I agree. They're pushing artifacts. I think green actually becomes pretty well placed in that meta because they have a lot of quick and dirty artifact hate.
Yeah.
Like even at what season of whatever it is, season of growth or whatever the fuck the card is, it just destroys all artifacts.
Well, the thing about green is not just that, but like they have like creatures that just incidentally have destroy artifact, destroy enchantment on them. So like, some people will have their decks and like they'll just have it on there. They're like, oh yeah, this is like they weren't even planning on like being like we're having a strategy to be able to fight artifacts, and just incidentally they're like, oh yeah, I can deal with that.
Yeah, and I think as artifacts become more key, and it's kind of why in standard, you do see artifacts, of course, but you're a little bit less reliant on them because of, they're fairly easy to remove in this meta.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, like with vacuum, because like I see people playing that a lot, and like they're just playing it because you need to be able to deal with graveyards, because people like
Right.
me exist that want to abuse having a graveyard, and so like there's just incidental artifacts around there, so there's already artifact hate out there, so it makes the affinity strategy harder.
Do you have any other final
Yes.
thoughts?
The speed mechanic.
Oh God, the speed mechanic.
I wanted to do a little pros and cons.
Okay.
I do like that the speed mechanic. Well, I don't like, but it's a bonus for it being playable, I guess. Is similar to the emblem mechanic, and that once it's there, I think there's one card right now that actually changes someone's speed, like makes it go down.
Really?
Yeah, what's one card that? Yeah, there's only one card. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. In like it's an uncommon also, so like
yeah, but it's a shitty card otherwise. So, so speed is pretty well protected. And I guess that's really the only pro right now. Because again, I find it really slow. It is easier in some colors than others, obviously. But I really think they missed the ball in not giving more incremental speed effects. I would love to see more cards besides just the one where speed 2 still fucking does something.
I would have liked seeing a creature that had, that like a creature that's a vanilla creature on one, and then if you have speed 2, it gets this ability. On speed 3, it gets this ability.
Yeah.
On speed 4, it gets the ability that wins you the game, or whatever. That would have been cool.
That'd be kind of neat. Yeah, like an evolving
or even
type
just
creature.
+1/+1 for every speed you have.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Yeah. I think that would be kind of
there was
neat.
a lot of ways they could have done of spells that cost 1 less for each speed you have.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that I think could have been done to make this mechanic
cooler, more useful.
And like even as an incidental mechanic within your deck, right? Don't necessarily have to build around, but right now you have to build around it for it to do anything.
Yeah. And even then, it's
there's
not.
no point in putting one of these max speed cards in if you're not putting in a lot of ways to get to max speed.
Yeah, my issue with it is like we were talking about that there's like a bunch of the cards that by themselves I like the lands and stuff like that, but like if you want to depend on them, then you have to play a whole bunch of other cards that the start your engine cards that are just bad, and it just like it just feels bad. The whole strategy just feels bad, like when you're building a deck.
And I think the only like standard and draft that are really going to benefit from this mechanic are gonna be the super aggro that don't really need it.
Yeah, like I was saying, there's a goblins deck and there's a goblin. I forgot its
Of course,
name,
there's a goblin deck.
It's a 1/1. Yeah, it's a 1/1 goblin. Has start your engines, and he starts out with I think he starts out with menace, and then when you get max speed, he gets double strike.
And there's also the 2-cost, 1 colorless, 1 fire, 5/3 trample haste.
Jeez.
That's indestructible.
Oh, really?
But can only attack or block if you have max speed.
Yeah, there's that. And so
I mean, I'm playing that in my speed decks because that's one of the good cards.
Yeah,
but if you draw it, you don't want that in your opening hand because then it just sits there and fucking does nothing, right?
Yeah, it can't be the first start your engine card that you play. Is the problem. And
I think you can tap it, make another creature with power less than 2 unblockable.
Yeah,
that's the only good side for it.
Yeah, but like it's an aggro card that if you don't have start your engines when you play it, that it becomes a mid range card. So that's
Yeah.
fun.
And yes, it can help enable itself by getting some of those little goblins through. But it does, like, turn 2 in an aggro deck is kind of pivotal. I mean, you don't play an aggro deck where you don't have an impactful turn 1 or turn 2 card.
Yeah, yeah, like
Especially
you want
one that
cards-
can never be impactful before, like, fucking turn 4 or 5. I mean, I guess you could use it for its unblockable thing, but even then, you're not putting another thing on the board to get that.
Nope.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
aggro
on turn
wants
2,
that.
you're-
Aggro wants more shit on the board doing stuff.
Yeah, they don't care if you block
Nope.
10 of their goblin tokens because the other 57 are getting through.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, and then the other problem with that is that the the goblin plan is is to deal you a bunch of damage before your super comes down. And so, like, if you're playing him on 2 and he's gonna turn on turn 5, then you're gonna get sunfalled. So
And it
Have
maybe
fun with
lets
that.
you push 2 extra damage a turn. Okay, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not terrible. But again, there's other things that would do that, even if it's just, a quick little lightning bolt or something else to clear away a blocker.
yeah, and I'd rather play the damage spells personally to because they can go to face and they can end the game before I get sunfalled.
So, like, even like mending at core, if it like made artifacts cheaper or gave them ward 1 for every speed or something, it's still good when you're at max speed. But playing it before then, it's just kind of it's a glass cannon before then because it can get a pretty high attack pretty quickly. But it's only going to have 3 health.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my big issue with the speed mechanic is I feel like it has a lot of promise, but I think it's going to end up being one of those abandoned mechanics. Because it's not going to see anything game changing right now.
No.
Like, this whole set doesn't really have a lot of game change. It has some fun janky stuff, which I love, so I'm not, like, disappointed.
Yeah.
But, like, for the competitive people out there, I think a lot of these cards are just kind of like, it's not going to change my deck at all.
Yeah, and like you were talking about, like with, like I like I like my Marketback Walker, but like you're talking about, like with Marketback Walker, like it was really really good until like all the exile stuff. Like it's an old card, and that's what this set, just all of it feels like it's like just old cards that are just have a little bit of like new stuff added onto them.
And I just really hate pushing the fucking vehicles. That is one that should be fucking abandoned.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, I have not had fun playing with vehicles. So,
I mean, occasionally a vehicle deck will, like, wreck my shit, and that's great. Like, good for them, right? But I just feel like the vast majority of the vehicles don't do enough to overcome their downsides.
yeah, like I said, like a lot of them just feel like they're just you play them and they just do nothing, and then you're just gonna watch your opponent like break your face right after you played them.
In fucking Galma, when I'm playing a deck that's centered around artifact creatures, especially pumping the little bitty ones up, I'm gonna play the one that gives +2/+2 to artifact creatures. Sure, because it does something.
But you would play an artifact that did that and that couldn't turn into a creature. So like
right, but I already play like Forsaken Monument and that just for that same reason.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're not playing the vehicle because it's a vehicle. You're playing the vehicle because it's an artifact that does stuff that you want.
Exactly.
And that every once in a while, you might drive it.
Same thing with the one that puts counters. It's a really good artifact on its own. So I like it making it a vehicle. I guess makes it better because there's not a lot of vehicle-centered hate. But I would play that if it was just an artifact.
Yeah. I'm gonna build one of those and test that with my Marketback Walker stuff. Yeah, and like, but like,
Put
I'm not
4 of
playing
them in a
because...
Marketback Walker deck.
Yeah, and so like, but
With 4 talents.
But if it didn't say that it could tap, you could if it didn't have the crew on it and to be able to become an artifact creature, I would still play that card.
Right. So like, yeah, that's a good card, but like the vehicle thing, it's a good card because it's a good card and it has a good effect. But that vehicle part of it is kind of win more in that case, and I don't know. I don't see it as being something to push.
Yeah, and I'm not huge into Magic, so like I don't know a bunch of people, but like I don't know anybody that's into vehicle decks at all.
Yeah,
I haven't come across anyone that's like, I love vehicles. Like I've run into people who love artifacts, who love affinity, who love poison counters, who love enchantments, love all the other stuff, whatever. I've not run into one person that's like, oh, these vehicles, this is what I want.
yeah, I do. Like, I love playing artifacts and enchantments. I really do. But I just don't find that in my artifact decks that vehicles tend to do much.
No.
Like, and there's often, like, again, there's a couple that we pointed out here that are just good cards on their own that I would play in those decks. But for the most part, but even the ones that are just good cards on their own, like, they're color limited in this case.
Yeah, that's the other problem with them.
And like when I'm playing in Brawl, I see, besides the last 2 days, obviously, but before this, I saw maybe 1 or 2 vehicles a game. Like, I generally, like, I play the hover, the UFO thing, because it exiles a card.
I see people play that, but like you said, it's because it exiles stuff.
And because it's flying, and often in those particular colors in an artifact-heavy deck, or anything flying can be an issue. And I'm bad around not having enough flyers in my deck. So I like it for a flyer to push every now and again. But for the most part, when I play it, it sits there like any other like binding card, where I just pay 3 to exile something, and it just sits there for the entire game because it's not actually big enough to be worth crewing.
And with that card, if what you exile is going to lose you the game, if you if you lose that,
If it dies,
if it dies, then you never want to crew it. Like even if you like even if you like thought you maybe had an opening, but like they have mana open, you're like, yeah, well, I'm not gonna crew it. We're not gonna.
Right. I often have to make that decision of, do I attack with this?
Risk it for the biscuit.
Risk them something and just fucking get like trashed because I took out one of their key parts.
Yeah, I don't want to see that children again.
Here and do nothing. So I'm just gonna sit there and do nothing 90% of the time. And maybe that's why I don't win that many games, but I mean,
yeah, I think that's probably the problem with vehicles that I've seen that a lot of people don't like, is that it slows the game. It makes everyone slow down, which sometimes is good, but like,
well, it's the same as whenever you have the creatures that exile. No one plays those, right? Because why would you do that? They're too fragile.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Any other final thoughts?
Fuck you, Pens.
That's now 2 of those.
Hey, gotta get them in.
Yeah, that's
Seems
true.
like you're starting to get tired of them.
No, no. I mean, it's your intro when you come in the channel. So I mean, I hear it all the time.
And it's with love.
Yeah, I know. I know.
He's used to it. It's fine.
I am.
But yeah, I think it's great to be moving over to Magic from Eternal, because despite what Spoon said, Eternal's not doing great right now.
It's not.
Go play Eternal, people. I never said that it was doing great. I said the people should go play Eternal.
Fair.
And I just want people to go play Eternal so that I could not sit in queues for 3 minutes.
Now, is this something like this? Something I've noticed. I've been playing card games, digital and paper, for 30 years now. And every card game I've come across starts having the same issue with abandoned mechanics.
Well, yeah, and like some of that has to do with just turnover. So like card designers don't stay forever.
Mm-hmm.
So then you get, someone has like this grand design. They're like, I have this five-year plan for these cards and this mechanic, and this is the whole plan that I have, whatever. And they do 2 sets, and they have these mechanics set in there, and then somebody else, they get laid off. They get a better job somewhere else.
But what I don't understand,
something, and then it just gets abandoned.
What I don't understand is this constant push for new mechanics rather than expanding the mechanics we already had. So we just put in new mechanics with like Survivor, right? Okay, let's make some more Survivor cards. That could be cool. Or all these other things that there's one set that has a bunch of XYZ mechanics, and then no other set addresses them at all.
Yeah, I don't like that personally.
I don't either.
And what I hate is when they do that and then they just start sprinkling in a little bit of them. So like you'll get affinity, like we have affinity cards, but I think like there's only like 2 new cards that are affinity cards.
Mm-hmm.
That are in the set.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other ones are just reprints. And like
for this set, affinity would be a great mechanic to reintroduce.
Yeah. And like
it
you're
fits
talking about,
perfectly.
like you were talking about, like there's so much open space. Like you can have like there's spells. There's tons of spells that could use having affinity. Spell effects that could have affinity on them and stuff like that.
I mean, even something like giving Aetherspark affinity would be cool. Even if you keep it at like it can't be reduced below 4 or whatever, but pushing that and making that a part of the game makes even the pulls toward vehicles, because like I said, vehicles count for affinity, so that maybe could make vehicles more relevant.
But they don't pay me.
And aren't all the affinity cards blue at this point?
Or colorless, I think.
Yeah. There's the one big bastard.
Yeah. So there's
why not push affinity into green or white or whatever, just to give them more of a reason to play some of these cards.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but I would, and like fire red could have a lot of fun with like affinity stuff, in my opinion, but they don't want to. Maybe they have plans. Like I said, like they plan these things out years and years in advance. So maybe, I don't know.
And I mean, obviously they're a pretty successful fucking company because they own everything in the digital and paper trading card. Like there's nothing really to compete against them anymore.
Yeah, which is sad. And so, if they have so much money, then fix your client so I can play it on my phone.
And I will never forgive them for Lord of the Rings, the trading card game. I got so into that bastard, and I had all the like super rare cards, like the One Ring and everything, and Magic just fucking killed it.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, and every like card game I tried to get into that was not Magic, other than like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, which I just wouldn't touch with the 10-foot fucking pole, all just died off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Probably because there's only like 6 people worldwide playing them.
At this point, probably, except for Hearthstone, with that game's booty.
Well, Hearthstone are powered too.
And they're not paper.
Yeah, that's true. They're only digital.
And you know, the digital card games all have like I've been a big part of that scene for a very long time. I've done alpha testing and all that kind of stuff. But they all have a relatively limited shelf life. I mean, it's just the nature of it, right? And especially when games that synergize with the stuff that you play on paper anyway, like Magic, actually put out a decent phone client like Arena, which I'm sorry, Arena compared to some of these other games is remarkably stable and easy to find opponents. Then there's no way that like a game like Eternal is going to really be able to compete with that because they don't get the income from the paper as well.
Yeah, that's true. And well, like, what gets me like Pokemon, like not Pokemon, Marvel Snap, was really good, and then like everyone stopped playing it, and like if Marvel can't compete, I don't know who can.
I mean, most of the digital games I've played have at some point decided to transition over to paper. And that's where they fail miserably because, you know, Magic did it the other way around where it had that player base already. And so people wanted to come play it. But, like, when you're playing Eternal, if it went paper, like, who are you going to play with?
Yeah. Well,
And there actually is a paper version. They did make a board game of it.
Yeah, but how many people, like, maybe you and me when I was living in Arizona, Spoon, we could have played occasionally.
Yeah, maybe. But, yeah, like, they're not going to...
Yeah, there's not a big market for it because...
Well, the biggest problem is that it's card shop space. Is that because like this is a problem that Pathfinder had with their card game, is that they actually had lots of people that wanted to play the game, but like the amount of money that they needed to, I don't want to say bribe, but yeah, bribe card shop owners to put it on the shelves was cost prohibitive.
Yeah,
and so like,
and to sponsor, like pay them, because these tournaments don't just get people to buy cards; they're also sponsored in a lot of ways, like discounts for buying and stuff like that. If you run so many tournaments a month, we'll give you X money off your orders, that kind of shit.
Yeah, so like not only do you have to have the money to be able to do printing and stuff like that, which I only know like the paper costs are getting crazy. I don't know how bad that is for printing itself, but it can't be cheaper than it was like 5 years ago. So you have that issue, and then you have
and then getting out at stores like Walmart. So when I was a kid playing Magic, I started as a kid. I guess it was the beta, the only place you could get them were the few card shops there were. Most of them were like baseball card shops would also run those. But you could get them at like Walmart and Target and stuff like that. But that costs money. You have to pay for them to carry it.
Yeah, because like shelf space isn't free, so that's that's the problem. And like I remember that with Pathfinder, like people love the Pathfinder card game. Like there's thousands and thousands of people that that still play it and that love it, but like they just couldn't get it on shelves anywhere.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems too is organized play, and Magic has been really great about promoting organized play, even at your local card shop.
Because they know they need the local card shops to keep, like, they need them.
Right, but they recognize that, and they also recognize that having this organized play where you could go play with a bunch of other similarly unwashed heathens was a way to bring people into the game. And I think a lot of these other card games that don't have that, like that's the downfall of Eternal, has really been the loss of organized play. Even though the vast majority of us never even entered those tournaments.
Nah, fuck that.
Yeah, I
The
think
fact that it was there legitimized the game.
Yeah, I think the biggest downfall was like they didn't have a good community manager, a coordinator, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
Because like everything else is like they have a great client, it works on my phone, it works on my computer, it works on my tablet, it works on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Arena, and definitely unlike Magic Online. People love the cards themselves. The art is great. The community isn't. The community is like I'm talking like before. No, like even during the lockdown, like there was still a lot of streamers and still a really good community. And it was like right after that, it was like when it started dying down. Well, right after they stopped making sets, probably is when it started dying. And so like they had everything they needed to, and they just needed somebody to like had that and cultivate it, and they just never had it.
Well, and also the problem, and this is a problem for Magic as well, for Arena at least, which I think they need to fix, is that Eternal was never really set up for easy community tournaments. Like,
yeah, and the Eternal's trying to do that.
It takes a lot of work, but it's too late now, right? They stopped making sets. They're fucking on their way out, so it's too late.
We don't know if they stopped making sets, Seragyn. We don't know that.
They've alienated enough of us old timers that a lot of us are leaving. They alienated their streaming community, which was the backbone of getting people into it. They did a lot of wrong turns, and I don't think bringing that in now is going to save things.
No.
I agree. You know, I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, but because we have to like go on these other sites to make brackets and do the whole challenge system, which is not really well worked out in Eternal, and it's just not. It's not well done in a way that lets us as the community play an organized event against other people and be competitive. And Arena has the same issue, don't get me wrong. Now they do more events because they can sponsor them. And when they do them, their events are better run.
Yeah.
But like I think everyone in the digital space is really underestimating how much having that kind of like card shop tournament play, which was what most of us got into Magic for to begin with, would really boost them a lot.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I do like about Magic Online is that like I can do like real traditional drafts against people, and like I have people like on my friends list, and we can just sit down and like it's a digital version of sitting in a card shop and drafting cards.
And it was fun passing the deck around the fucking table and everyone picking a card.
Yep, that's what I miss.
Any other final thoughts?
Now that we've gone off in this awful large tangent,
we have gone down the rabbit hole.
No, I think I'm good.
We're good. Well,
I'm good too.
All right. Well then, everyone, there you go. That's our top 10 card review. I want to thank Seragyn and Spoon, as always, gentlemen, for joining me. I appreciate it. And I guess to the outro. If you agree or disagree with us, feel free to post comments down below and tell us why you agree or don't agree with us.
I'm not going to care.
Yeah, he won't care. I'll care. I'll listen.
But to be fair, I won't care if you agree with me either. So,
There you go. But until next time, folks, Have a good one, and outro time.